While we're waiting for a few more people to jump on, let's go ahead and get some of our viewers to introduce themselves. Jill, can you tell us who you are and who you're with?
Hi, my name is Jill Pfaffenbach. I am with the USO of Central and Southern Ohio. Awesome. So we are part of the larger USO. So we, in our service area for Central and Southern Ohio, we have Columbus, Dayton, Wright-Patterson, Cincinnati. And then we just opened our lounge at Louisville. And so we now service Fort Knox as well.
Oh, great. Great. Do you know Scott Dawes?
I do not know.
He was on the board last year.
Oh, okay. I just started with them in February. So.
Oh, did you? Okay, great.
Yep.
Great.
Well, welcome. We're glad you you picked up on this and that you're here with us this morning.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Mr. Sanderson.
Yes, Miss Conrad, how are you?
I'm good, Mike. Tell us who you are and what is it you do?
I'm Mike Sanderson. I am the owner of Sanderson Automotive Service in Grove City. We do pretty much everything mechanical on your automobiles and light trucks.
That's true. And when you take your vehicle there, he might even find things that are wrong that you didn't even know about. I can say that from experience.
Yes. And we also are, because of we've always wiped everything down, but because of the whole pandemic, that went to a new level. We now are using a product called PermaSafe. We're using the disinfectant part of the PermaSafe system. I can buy it's a two-part system. I can use the disinfectant. We're spraying that on every steering wheel, gear shift, door knob.
Wow.
Knob that we touch inside the car. We're using UV light to sterilize the air in the car. But we're also offering,
a new day for sure.
Yeah, we're also offering with the cabin air filter services, cleaning the actual airbox with the PermaSafe disinfectant.
Wow, I feel safe.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mike. Let's see, Jess Williams.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, I am a integrative nutrition health coach. I know Stacy. Stacy's a good friend of mine. So when I heard she was talking, I was like, sure, I want to be there.
Awesome. Well, welcome. Glad you're here. Rocco?
Yeah, I'm Rocco Folletti. I'm with City Scene Media Group, and I handle our marketing and advertising for Discover Grove City, which is Grove City's official publication.
Oh, cool.
Awesome. Glad you're here, Rocco. Kathy?
I'm also with City Scene Media Group, and yes, as Rocky said, we produce Discover Grove City magazine in partnership with the City of Grove City. We have 5 other community magazines that we do throughout Central Ohio, and our flagship publication, which is City Scene Magazine, which is, are you ready for this? Arts and entertainment, and let's talk about how that industry has been shut down. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun reinventing our editorial platform a little bit for City Scene, just to stay relevant. But in the community, it's always, it's kind of the same. Hasn't really been affected as much. I mean, certainly there's been some effect, but not as much because the content is still about like the people and things going on in the city. So anyway,
there you go. It's a great publication.
Thanks for having me.
We enjoy it. And thank you for the story that you just did on the chamber and on myself. Poor Rocco had to take the brunt of my, I don't like that picture, but other than that, it was all good.
No. That was awesome. I have extra copies. We have extra copies.
And Jeff Tadlock. Jeffrey?
Yeah. I'm Jeffrey Tadlock, Jeffrey Tadlock Photography, local photography business here in Grove City. Anything from like portraiture to business portraiture for headshots, lifestyle, drone flights, everything like that. So happy to be here and hang out and see more about marketing.
Yeah, you've jumped on a bunch of these, Jeffrey.
Yeah, I do. I think they're a great use of time. I think so. I like to try to hop on when I can and see what I can pick up.
Mm-hmm. I appreciate that. Well, I am going to go ahead and I'll watch for other participants coming in. But in the meantime, I want to introduce our panel to you this morning. This, of course, is put on by the Grove City Area Chamber of Commerce, and we've been gathering these topics and presenters for our Zoominar series for a couple of months now, and have had a really nice turnout. So we're really appreciating this. This is part 1 of 4 on marketing, and this particular topic is going to be on brand awareness. And with that, we brought to the table Katie Person, who owns Catbro. Say hi, Katie.
Hello, everybody. How are you? Can you guys see me?
Yep, we see you, and thanks for being here. Wayne Coakley, who owns Grenade Marketing and is also the president of our chamber board this year.
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning.
That's it. That's all you can muster this morning, Wayne?
Oh, I got more. I mean, is that my introduction? That's good.
Not quite, but almost.
Okay.
Almost.
All right.
We've got Trent Souls, who I think everybody knows from Be Local and Into Publishing. Trent, say hey.
Hey. Did what you said.
Very obedient. Exactly. And of course, we have Stacy McPhillips from Pencil Point Marketing. Good morning, Stacy.
Good morning.
Hi, Stacy.
Well, I just want to thank all of you guys for being part of this panel. Very excited. We have a nice turnout of guests. I'm going to ask you if you have a question to either raise your hand or put your question in the chat bot, and I will try to keep an eye on that and get those questions answered. In the meantime, we're going to start the discussion and talking, as I said, specifically about brand awareness. And we're going to start out by talking, what's the process or the journey that a consumer might go through, and where does it start? Trent, talk us a little bit about that.
I think what I'll do real quick is share my screen with you. And what I'm going to share is the actual journey of a business. As we all know, if we put ourselves in the mindset of a buyer, of a consumer, we want to make sure that we are providing what they will relate to, okay, or the information that we are sharing with them. Let me make sure I get to the right page here. And then I'll share my screen.
Katie, I like you in your scene.
Hey, Sean, can you
wake me up?
can you enable the screen sharing? It's disabled at the moment.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, when I
get all the bugs worked out right at the beginning. You know how these Zoom things work. Everybody does. You work out all the kinks in the beginning, and then, you know, someone's going to blink out later on, you know, and you'll hear their voice fuzz out.
You're able to, you should be able to share.
Okay. Okay. Well, it's not sharing, so I'll do this. There we go. You can probably see that. Can everybody see that screen?
No.
No. Let's try that again. How's that? I may have selected the wrong slide. There we go. Okay.
That one.
Now,
I like how you had that confidence. You're like, everybody can see the screen. Like, no, we can't.
Right. Good thing I didn't just start talking about it. Well, what I thought would be good to start with for all of us in talking about brand awareness is really where it starts. Every company, I think Stacy's webinar yesterday at Innovate New Albany, it was it was focused on what was it? Marketing is everything and everything is marketing, or something like that. And it's so true. If you're a business owner, you know that marketing comprises everything. When you look for an employee, you have to market for that. So even growing your operations involves marketing. So the process of which a buyer, a consumer, a person that goes through, the number one thing they do is, number one, is they want to know about you. And then secondly, that consumer, that person, goes through a process, which is a normal process. And any of us that are in marketing at all understand this process. If you're a business owner, sometimes you may not understand the process, but you do understand your client. So the next phase they go through is research. They may see your ad in Discover Grove City. Then they go to your website, and then they check, do you exist? If you don't have a website, maybe they think you don't exist. You can build one in your garage or room. So just having something to go to, and then they research, and then they compare. They look at reviews. Unfortunately, we've got a little bit of everyone on the call today to talk about these things. And then they go through a conversion process. What's that mean for your business? Could be different, but it's much the same. And then there's the retention process. It's retaining that client. It's nurturing that client. So there's all kinds of things that go into that process, but we have to all be mindful of that. So I thought that would be a good thing to show in what the journey the buyer goes through. And as my cup says, we do have to find joy in the journey, and that journey of a consumer is something that we all as business owners really, really have to hone in on and know and target exactly who they are and how we need to serve them.
Interesting. I will ask on behalf of our viewers this morning, would this be available later if someone would like to have your
Sure.
your visuals there?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, great. Hey, Wayne, what should a business do or have before they even start marketing? What do you start with before you start?
Wayne, you're on mute.
Why can't I hear you? Yeah.
Okay. How about now?
There we go.
I was trying to be cordial to Trent this whole time and be on mute. So obviously you need a product or service, but what Trent said was the first thing you need is some kind of a storefront. Obviously you need to have a landing page because you're going to put a lot of time and money and effort into driving people to something. And if you don't have them to drive them to a page that you can at least try to capture their information, that's the goal, is to get once you've spent all this time and you're building content and you're spending money on marketing, when they come to your one-page site, and it doesn't have to be extravagant, just something that shows what you are and what you do, you got to be able to capture their information. But the whole piece of this, and it's interesting, I get an email every day from the National Calendar Day. Today's National Day is Get to Know Your Customers Day, which is kind of interesting based on what we're talking about today, because building an avatar is what we typically like to do when we start working with a client. Is we want to help our clients find out who their actual customer is. If you don't have that, I guess, roadmap, if you don't know or can't define your target, your target audience, how in the world can you possibly market to them and take aim and shoot? You need to find out, what their actual their pains are, what their frustrations are, see what their challenges are, whatever you're selling or whatever your product is, find out what those pains are to get to them. And then that's how you market to them. If you don't fix that pain for them, they're not going to come back to you, I guess. And, then, show them what the glory is, kind of a, if you're a dentist, and you show them, hey, what the pain is of having, not clean teeth, then you could say, hey, imagine, having whiter teeth, what that'll do for you. So I think that first off, if you don't know who your customer base is, if you really don't know who they are, and it does take time to figure that out and go through a process, you're just throwing targets, at a blank wall. Or throwing darts at a blank wall. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
I see some head shaking, so that's a good sign. Good deal. Okay, let's move forward. These questions, by the way, were posed by folks beforehand so that we would know what kind of things to touch on by our panel. Stacy, good morning. Let me ask you one of these pre-posed questions that we got from folks. What does creating awareness of your brand actually mean?
Yes. So the awareness stage, as Trent showed in the little like graphic marketing funnel, customer journey, whatever you want to call it, is really the first place where you're telling your potential customers, hey, I'm here. This is what I do. This is what I sell. And this is why you should buy from me. So it is really about getting new customers into your place. So if you have, and think about all the ways that like you learn about new businesses that pop up. So if you have like a brick and mortar facility like Mike does, then like signage is great because people are going to drive by and they're going to see that you're there, and now they know that Sanderson Auto, exists on their drive home, and if their car, needs shopped later, they know where to go. Online, that could be through social media. So it could be a social media ad, it could be a social media post or something that was shared by a friend. Referrals, that happens all the time. Facebook groups are great for like sharing new information and new companies and like popping in and saying like, hey, I'm here. If you're a health coach like Jess, you want to reach people maybe through networking groups, chambers of commerce, or other people that are interested in like health related things. So you might go to some classes at the local yoga studio. And then conferences, trade shows, certainly articles. So you city scene guys, are creating awareness of new brands every day. So there's tons of different ways to create awareness, and it all kind of varies in terms of like how you do that. But Wayne is right. The first thing that you kind of really need to do is figure out who that customer is that's going to be most likely and most interested in buying your product or service. And then you want to figure out where those guys are, and that's where you're going to want to start creating awareness.
Wow, that's great. I appreciate that. That's good, good strategy. I appreciate you mentioning the Chamber of Commerce as one of those ways to create awareness, and I hope we're doing a good job for everybody. I want to say to that, as I introduced Katie down here from Catbro does the marketing for the Chamber, and they're the ones that put out our newsletter and our magazine and take care of our website. So we appreciate everything you do for us because that is what matters to our members. And so thank you for all that. Katie, I'm going to ask you just a real simple question, but it's probably a long answer. What's the first step?
Well, so I mean, when a person is getting started in their marketing, they've got to take a couple things into perspective. First and foremost, they have to take into perspective, who am I talking to? Like, who is my target audience? And we've all heard that, 100 times. They have to understand where their target audience works and where they play, so that they can figure out what channels are best for them to reach them. At one point in time, I had a customer who is really trying to get awareness for her. She had like a traveling mobile bra boutique, but it was for a bigger cause. She was raising money for breast cancer. It was like a dual type of venture. But she ended up going to like certain customer service based companies like a Chase or a Huntington call center, and getting involved with them to insert her flyers into their individuals' weekly pay stubs. So it was like a different type of way to get to the customer. But by research, we realized her customers work in these service-based industries where she was trying to reach out to them to get them to do like early mammograms and stuff. So you need to know where they work, as well as you need to know where they play. Like, where are they playing out on social media? Are they on Facebook? Are they on Instagram? What's your audience behaviors? And then last but not least, and probably the absolute most important thing when it comes to like getting started in marketing, is you have to know what their problem is and what it is that you're solving for them. So, you know, even if you're like a donut shop, you're like, hey, I'm solving the problem of hunger or carbohydrate addictions. Either way, by knowing what the problem is at hand that you're solving for them, you'll be able to communicate properly to let them know, hey, I've got the answer to your questions.
All right. Thank you, Katie. That's great. Go back up to Trent for a minute. What goes through the mind of a consumer when businesses are trying to reach out to them?
It's a good question. I think everybody's covered a lot of the goal of finding out who their customer is, how their customer is thinking. I'm going to do something interactive real quick with you. I'm going to ask you a couple questions, and this isn't going to take very long because the Q&A is really, really important to all of us. If you can see my screen, the question is, why did you to put yourself in the mindset of a customer? Okay. And those of us who are in marketing on this call, you will understand this quite a bit too, because we're continually having to educate our clients this process. How did you call a company to purchase an item or to have them service you? So what I want you to do is well, let me get it to work here. Here we go. Answer one or several in the chat box below. Did someone refer you? You keep seeing, don't answer yet. You keep seeing ads everywhere. You Googled and investigated them. They serve the community in various ways, or all of the above. Or maybe you can choose A and C, or B and D, or whatever. But put in the chat box. I'm curious what everyone says. Okay. So we have E, A, and C. A little bit of everything, isn't it? Okay. And it's those answers really are based on our own experience. Someone referred you, but how did that someone that referred you know about you in the first place? So then you have to go back several steps to think, how did they know about it? So what someone is thinking is the most important part in understanding that journey of of what goes through the mind of a customer. And there's, by the way, demographics, but has everyone heard of the term psychographics?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Psychographics, if you haven't heard that term, is basically how people think. And that data is available to us nowadays to be able to target very effectively through Google and Facebook and everything. But one very, very important fact is creating a brand awareness. That is done in various ways. And we've heard, I even have a printed guide as well, and we work with affluent communities throughout all of Columbus, and in addition to Be Local. And I know Kathy and Rocco have heard this as well, as someone will say, no one saw my ad and no one's calling me from my ad. Well, we know as marketers, the answer to that question is that doesn't mean anything when they say that, because the consumer is going through a process. They are seeing businesses and it's coming from all different directions. So getting into the mind of the consumer, what process do they go through? And I said it earlier about a company needing to have online presence, which is extremely important, but they also need to have a presence, a brand presence in various forms. If you know your target client is reading a magazine, then you better be putting an ad in a magazine. And based on the quantity of people they're directing towards, or maybe a very, very hyper local targeted market. It's different for different companies. So it kind of was a little bit of a broad answer to your question, but I thought it'd be good to cover a few of those things.
Yeah, that's good, and that makes sense. Throw this one out to Wayne. What kind of messages are good when you're telling a potential customer about your brand while they're in that awareness stage?
Okay. Yeah, I kind of call those people the oblivious customers. They don't need you. They don't need you now or ever. They got no time for you. They got no money to spend, and they just got a lot of excuses that they just don't want to work with you. And actually, that's okay. 95% of people that are actually going to come to your website in the first place, they're not buying. They've got several reasons why they're not going to do business with you. You can't take that too personal. Either they didn't see what they were looking for, there's no discount, whatever it may be. They didn't see your reputation, that you were, a reliable company. So you need to be essentially top of mind when they're ready. And what that means, and this goes back to the journey, there's a buyer's process when they're investigating a business or a service, takes time. Sometimes it takes 30, 60, 90 days before they make a decision. So if they come to your website first and they don't buy, you're out of the picture if they're still investigating. So you need to be top of mind with them. So, that's why that getting their email address is good, to get on an email list for them. And you just have to be able to offer them value. And remind them over time that your brand does exist. Like what Trent just said, if they read a magazine, you need to be in a magazine. If they're on certain websites, you need to be on those certain websites. So that's kind of it. Just, you have to be in front of them. So when you get them on your email list, you can do that kind of stuff. You got to prime them over time and, give, tell stories of, how you helped another customer get through a process that, what your service may be. You can show testimonials throughout these staged, responding to them over time, give a discount here and there. If it's a holiday, send out some type of a holiday message, just give them something for free. And then I always like to, when we write content for emails and for getting messages out, I want to empathize with them, show them, empathize with them with their problem. Hey, you're suffering with something, whatever it may be. Like, Mike's on the line. I got a car problem. I got an issue. Sometimes people wait to get something fixed. But you can demonstrate, kind of a deep understanding of what they're going through. Introduce the solution, show them how your service can help them out. And then one of the things I think is important is when you establish your authority. Give proof that, what you do and your offer is going to work, that it's not too good to be true. And you need to do that with case studies. We all have them, and every business has them. We just don't sometimes collect them in the right way. But once you get a couple case studies, sometimes you're pretty golden, because you can always refer back to, hey, this is what we did. This is a real person that we helped fix their house, their car, or their, medical, whatever it may be. So those are like testimonials, and you show your credentials. And at the very end, you have a compelling offer, your call to action. I think all of us know that. I think once you get on anybody's, maybe their email list or whatever, you don't want to be pushed to buy from them right away. You need to warm them up, learn about them. It's that whole, we've all heard the dating process, right? You're not going to marry them on the first date. So it's a process, and that journey takes time. So I think if the companies that survive are able to follow their customers and give back value over time.
Wow, good answer. With all that in mind, Stacy, tell us what are the best ways to advertise, and what are some free or low cost ways to create awareness through that?
Yes. So one of the best things that you can do to create awareness, especially if maybe you don't have a website yet and you're a local business, is to create a Google My Business page. So when you go search something in Google, at least on desktop and most of the time on mobile, you'll get like a little box with that particular brand in it, and it gives information like hours and address and phone numbers. Well, you can claim those pages and manage them and add photos and add your own specific information, and that is completely free. And so if you haven't done that, go Google how to do that right after this, because it's awesome. A website is another way, but building a website, you know, it's not that you just build a website and then all of a sudden like, I built it, they will come. There's a lot of like other things that are involved in really getting people to notice your website. But at the very least, you have this like place where if somebody's searching for you, they can probably find you in your website. Same thing with like a Facebook page or an Instagram page or a LinkedIn page, things like that. One of the ways that I really like to recommend that people create awareness is through partnerships. So if you are an automotive shop, people who have cars may also be interested in like dining out or local venues. And so if you start partnering with some of those places, specifically on social media, then they can post maybe a little something about you and you can post something a little bit about them, and then you're reaching their audience and then you're helping those people reach your audience. And so it's just a really nice collaborative way to do it. Old-fashioned business visits. So if you're a local place, you know, just taking some coupons or some flyers or some cookies, you know, to the businesses that surround you to make sure that they know that you're open and ready for business is awesome. Facebook groups is also great. Like there are always a ton of neighborhood groups. Like here we have Grove City Connect, and we've got a Grove City Mom group. And we have a Pinnacle neighborhood group. And so being a member and part of those as they're applicable and sort of starting to interact with your community is an awesome way to create awareness of your business. The Nextdoor app is great. Instagram hashtags, especially if you are sort of broader than local, can create some great awareness. It's just a matter of like finding the right hashtags, which can be a little bit of a challenge. But those are all kind of free, low-cost things that you can do to create awareness without, you know, having to break the bank on a marketing budget.
Wow, those are great ideas. Great ideas. I love the concept of partnering things together. That's really good.
Yeah, collaboration is fun.
Yeah, I can see where that would be. Absolutely. Katie, let me ask you a question, and then I think we can maybe, if it's okay with the panel, we can move into a general Q&A time. Katie, is it good or bad to change where I spend my ad dollars? Do I need to get a strategy and just follow it, or is it okay to kind of bounce back and forth?
Well, you should probably know me by now to know the answer to this, Sean. So I would like to say that I follow the majority of the marketing rules that, you know, have all been set for me, but I am definitely a rogue marketer, in the terms that I am, you know, I build plans, but my plans are like suggestions because I flow where the market flows. If I'm noticing, kind of like what Stacy was saying earlier, like if I'm noticing that even though I'm spending all these ad dollars in Facebook, if I'm noticing that I'm not getting what I think that should be that return on my investment, I may look and see who else in my industry or in similar industries, are getting good traffic, and I'll create a partnership. And I have literally structured my entire company based on partnership. Like, partner with you, partner with it. You imagine how many marketers were surprised when I came to them like, hey, you seem to be tapped into these guys pretty well. How about I jump in here and bring my skill set with me, and you bring your skill set with you? And they're like, sure, because, you know, you're so used to looking at others as competition, but they are collaborators. You know, you use others around you to help you move forward. So, you know, you can take that money that you were maybe spending on Facebook. If you notice that, hey, my partner's audience seems to be coming to him from LinkedIn, well, then shift those ad dollars over to you, especially if you're going to be kind of like in a collaborative situation with someone. You also want to look at the idea of like where you're at and what the age group and the behaviors. I like to use psychographics more than demographics, just even in my advertising. Like, I almost don't care if a person is 18 or 80. I care about their behaviors that they've taken. And so that when I'm targeting like my Google ads or my social media ads, I always use the behavior functionality, because I think that is more of telling of someone than even their age group. You know, you could have an old soul like I do, but you know, I want to see like kind of where a person is. So I might play with those dollars a little bit. I might actually take that budget, split it in half, and put it in 2 different places as a test. A long time ago, I had, you know, some marketing guru that was working with me tell me that if you're not testing, you're not marketing. I mean, if you are literally so committed to this plan that you're insistent on dumping money into this type of advertising or that type of marketing, or that, you know, you're just simply not even marketing. You have to be testing always. And I also want to encourage people, because I haven't heard it said yet, but when you're thinking about buyer awareness or even the buyer cycle, you don't have to go that far or check out a bunch of books from the library. Literally think about how you buy stuff. You are a good case study. People are not that different from one another. Seriously, despite what everyone wants you to think. Their behaviors are very much the same.
That's a good point.
Yes, if you are a person who like might see an ad on Facebook, but then maybe you're like, let me Google this ad so I can make sure that's a legitimate company, because, you know, you don't always trust it. You don't know who they are. And I always say, like, you can only be in business when everybody else starts caring about who you are too. You know, so like I can sit over here and be like, I'm the best marketing person ever, but like if no one else thinks that, then it's just me in my little corner, and I'm okay with it. But either way, like, really think about your processes. You know, think about, if I had a product like mine, what would be my process? And be truthful with yourself. Like, don't say, well, I would know that, you know, Bob from Bob's Tires was the best tire maker ever. So I would go there. But that's not the truth. You know, you would shop around, you would see, you would go on their social media pages. And I will tell you that there is nothing worse than a buyer being in their buyer cycle and you not having information to where their cycle has taken them. So if you're not on social media or you're not on the web, you're totally missing out. Like, you taking that part of their cycle out, and now they can't trust you. They don't know, like, okay, this is a real person. They may have wanted to take Aunt Becky's referral, but, well, then I went on Facebook. They don't have a Facebook page. Okay, fine, well, forgive them. Surely they got a website. What, no website? I can't do business with these guys. You know, like, you need to be on every piece of their cycle. And
Stacy just put up a comment to your comments that says all great marketers are flexible, always be testing.
That's right.
That's probably a great truth to follow. Thank you, panel, for all those pointed questions and responses. Let's open the floor up to just general questions from our viewers that are on this morning. You can either put your question in the chat bot, or I will unmute everybody, so be careful what you're doing. And
oh, Lord.
I know it's risky, isn't it? But for the moment, I'll do that. And then if you have a question, just go ahead and ask. Not everybody all at once, though.
For Facebook ads, there's brand awareness and then there's call to action. What are your thoughts on Facebook ads? They're like, is it always a call to action, or is there sometimes room for just a Facebook ad that's like getting a picture out there, getting a little information, but no call to action? Just what's your thoughts on how to grow brand awareness through a Facebook ad? Should it always have a call to action, or is there room for, I want page likes or something like that? What are your thoughts on that? And that's open to anyone who wants to jump in on that.
I can take that one. So I think if you're trying to create awareness, maybe a softer message is appropriate. And there are some softer call to actions. So like there's buy now, which probably too hard in the awareness stage. Like, so if you think about messaging in the awareness stage as sort of like your elevator pitch. So you're letting people know who you are, who you serve, and just a little bit of like that feeling of like who you are as a photographer, your personality, your style. So just so like a learn more call to action is nice, and that can be directed to your website. And then that would be your key metric in that particular Facebook ad. So how many links, so how many times did they click learn more and go to your website? And then for you, obviously, compelling visuals are super important for photographers, of which you have plenty because you're a great photographer. So yeah, but I like Facebook advertising. But to Katie's point, testing in Facebook advertising is super important. And Facebook even allows you to A/B test copy and images. And I use that a lot to just learn things that, you know, you can apply in the future too.
Great, thank you. It's helpful.
And if I can piggyback off of Stacy's real quick to answer your question, Stacy is completely right in the idea that, you know, every ad doesn't have to be a hard sell. Most of the time when I place an ad, it's not a hard sell because, like, who wants to be sold to like that? But I would absolutely never put my hard-earned American dollars behind something that didn't have a call to action on it. So remember that too. It could be soft, like the learn more, like Stacey was saying, but it's got to have something because you're not making any money off of it, so you shouldn't be spending any money on it. That's just me.
I actually,
good, appreciate it.
I'm not the Facebook experts like those two are, but I do Facebook marketing, and I think that's correct. I think if you're going to put any kind of money, the end result, Jeff, is to capture their information somehow. And if it's a soft sell, and if it's, you know, if you create some kind of a manual or a how to be a better photographer or how to get the right set, and you have like a PDF document or something that you can give away. The learn mores are great. You know, download my free report, how to choose the best photographer. Those things can go a long way in, you know, just creating content that they can just get for free. But there's an exchange for that free information, and the content that you want from them is their contact information. So
good point.
Really good point.
Good point.
Yep.
Thank you.
Great. If we got another question from our listeners here this morning.
I have one more if no one else is going to jump in.
Go ahead, Jeffrey.
So reviews are super important, but I always feel fractured now between, I don't figure anyone's going to go fill out a review for Google and Facebook. So like I got to point them towards one. Historically, I leaned more towards Facebook, but now it seems like I should have been leaning more towards Google. Do you guys have input on, I guess, one, is it appropriate to try to get reviews on both places? Or if not, which one is probably more powerful, or try to just even them out, and one time I'm asking for a Google review and another time a Facebook review?
I would direct this to Wayne because he's the specialist on.
That's kind of where our foundation is at on any businesses, building their reputation and the reviews. And I'm going to say for now and still it's going to be Google, because what you can do, Jeff, is, you know, those are the ones that people see. Like when Stacy was saying, you know, when you build your Google My Business page out, that little box shows everything, and, you know, your store hours and everything. It's going to show your reviews, your latest reviews. But what you can do with those is you can take those reviews and put them on Facebook as a process. I mean, you're getting there in the fine print. When someone leaves a review on Google, they are saying that it's okay to use this information. You know, you can do that. So our process is we remarket reviews. So we direct people first to Google, and then we remarket them on Facebook. So we can, you know, create, you know, posts or videos and put them on your Facebook page or something of that nature. But I really feel that Google's still the king of they own the internet in a way. So you follow them that way. But that's my opinion. That's been going on for several years now. Over the last few months, with COVID and some issues, Google was holding back on even getting the reviews on it. If you're aware of that, you couldn't even post them, or they were putting them in a queue. we were then directing those reviews to Facebook. Our system kind of points them to a certain area. And so, or if you were in a mortgage business or a realtor, we'd put them on, you know, their Trulias and Realtor.coms, taking advantage of that. But it just does the photography world have a an association or something that you like to be ahead of when people looking for a photographer that shows reviews?
Really, for the most part, it's Google, Facebook. And the other ones are like very very industry specific, like Professional Photographers of America and things like that. There's always Wedding Wire, but weddings aren't really my thing. If I was a wedding photographer solely, then that would be where I'd probably focus, like want good reviews. But for where I'm at, probably Facebook or Google. It's just,
and you can always, I mean, if you have them on Google, you can always, if you're on Facebook, say, hey, check out my reviews on Google, and point them to it and link them over there. So I'm going to say Google for sure is first and foremost.
Cool. Good.
Anybody else have a question for this panel? Okay, well, panel, then let me ask you, just, you know, in getting ready to close here, bottom line, each one of you just share bottom line to brand awareness, maybe for beginners. Trent, what you got?
I would say probably the most important thing is putting yourself out there, creating awareness as the person or the company that you are in a principled way is most important. To be because people don't care what you know, they want to know how much you care. Mm-hmm. And when the impression someone has of you or your business is that, you know what, I know, like, and trust them. Now, we could go and talk about all different platforms of how we can advertise and where we can put our ads and things like that. But I think the most important part is when you start out as a brand new business or entity or nonprofit, is let people know who you are and what you believe in and why you do what you do. And do it in many different ways as you can. Some, you know, a new business often has to start out with those free type of resources, which there are plenty of, but then you have to build up. And to have a brand awareness in targeted print applicant. Print, by the way, is one of the top forms of advertising in a targeted manner. And people don't think that. They think print's dead, but it's actually the opposite. When it comes to online, there's a lot of noise. So how do you stand out? Well, you don't stand out by being louder and bigger. You stand out by being who you are. So that's the number one important thing I would say for everyone.
That's great. Well said. Thanks, Trent. Wayne, what are you thinking?
What am I thinking? I'm thinking I was going to start out with that same line that he started out with. It was perfect.
I'm glad I was first.
Jeez. But so I'll go for this. I'll go for the tactic then, as far as a strategy, because I think what you're saying is, and it's true, you need to be real. You need to be authentic. You know, there's no reason to have some kind of aura around you that it's not really who you are, because you are who you are. So just be that person and be that business. If I was to think of a great, to me, it's free. It's a very cheap or free tactic, is video, and not meaning expensive video, right? I mean, we all have a phone. We all have something we can record on. And one of the best ways I think to advertise is to find out, first off, you know, you have frequently asked questions that customers are always asking. They're always asking that same question, right? You know, right when they start talking to you, that's the question. So you know the answer, but you let them finish. And then there's the questions that people have that are, we call them should ask questions. Those are the ones that your customers should be asking you to find out about you. So take 5 of each of them and shoot a quick 90-second video, just essentially answering the question, because when people go on Google, they ask those questions. They type in, you know, how do I choose the best mechanic? You know, what's the best person to you know, shoot a wedding? Whatever those questions are, do a video on it, and you post those. And a lot of people are not. Some people don't like to get in front of a camera, and I get it. I think in these days, everybody's got to be in front of a camera now if they want to do anything. But if you're afraid of it, the camera, and afraid of the video process, there's a free app it's kind of a cheater app. It's called Selvi, S-E-L-V-I, and you download it on your phone. and it's kind of cool. It's an app, because if you don't know what to say, I'm sure we've all got in front of a camera and you're kind of stuttering, but it's a mini teleprompter on your phone. So you literally can be holding your phone out. See if I can, you're holding how we do. We hold it. And we're talking to our audience, and you can read what you have already scripted. And if you think they're going to see your eyeballs, put a pair of sunglasses on and go outside and do it. And you can literally shoot a really great video in under 90 seconds. Those questions that people ask, the questions they should be asking, create, how to choose the best this or that. Post them on YouTube. It's free. YouTube's great. It's free. I mean, eventually you want to move away from YouTube, but because you don't want cat videos to pop up after you just put a lot of time into your video. But that would be, I guess, piggybacking off of Trent's authentic first, and then that's just a strategy that I think is a great and free one.
Awesome. That's great. Stacy, you got a bottom line?
Sure. I'm going to introduce something new to the discussion that we haven't really talked about. So the first thing that a business should have is a small elevator pitch. And we did talk about that. So who are you? Who do you serve? What do you do to help those people? But the next thing that a business should really have is a visual identity and a personality. So you want to know like what your communication tone is. Like, are you professional? Are you casual? Do you use emojis? Do you not use emojis? Do you swear? Do you not swear? Like those kinds of things in terms of a communication tone. And then you need to have like a basic visual identity in place. So logo, small color palette, 4 or 5 colors, 2 fonts. And what those things will allow you to do as you start messaging your business is create some consistency. And also you'll be better remembered just because you're creating that sort of visual and tonal consistency. And then what we've all talked about is just knowing your customer. And if you don't know your customer and you don't know where they hang out in Facebook or on Instagram or like what publications they look at, then customer interviews are awesome and amazing. And just spending some time with people who already use your service and ask them like, hey, what did you do yesterday? What's a normal day in your life look like? And then asking them like, why did they like working with you? Have they worked with other photographers that they didn't like? Like those kinds of things can help you better figure out where your customers are, so then you know where to message them.
Fantastic. And last but certainly not least, Katie, what's your bottom line here? Your final word.
You're on mute. You're muted.
Uh-oh. Let me unmute her.
Yeah. There you go.
Okay.
That would be the best bottom line. No. So that
was great.
So my final word, I would say, is first, to the note of what Stacy mentioned about the visual branding. That is certainly a extremely important part and probably an entire other panel discussion. But it is paramount and it is very critical. So if you are looking for ways to kind of play around with your branding, color ideas and stuff, I would suggest going to a site like Canva, where you can create little graphics and those kind of things. And it's user friendly. It's not meant for necessarily graphic designers like myself, but I mean, I use it as well. It's really meant for a layman to work. They give you tons of templates and it's free. So, I mean, I always try to throw in a free resource as well. And then I think Stacy put in Adobe Spark. Yeah, the Adobe Spark's awesome too. Like just go in there and play around with how your colors look together. But off of that, my actual final thought is I believe marketing, when it comes to small businesses, usually misses 2 things, and that's confidence and audacity. And those are 2 things that it's like important that a small business obtain as they move along in their growth. Because what do all these big companies have? The audacity to put this crazy stuff out there, the audacity to say these things on social media, the audacity to make commercials that create controversy, and they are booming. And so it's like, you just need a little oomph of that. You just need a little bit. And most of the time, I find that small businesses, we just walk real close to the safe side. And there's nothing wrong with that. And you can maintain, you can grow that way. But in this day and age, when there is so much noise online, which Trent pointed out, you have to stand out. You have to stand out. And it's not that you have to create somebody different. Someone who stands out has already been created. That's you. And I don't know if you're spiritual or not, but I believe the master above has created someone extremely unique, extremely creative, extremely amazing. And if you try to look online and copy this person, or, I hear a lot of the keeping up with the Joneses happens a lot in our business in general. Like, so-and-so was doing a Facebook Live. Nah, but you don't have a Facebook Live personality. Be honest, you know what I'm saying? Like, maybe you're not the Facebook Live person. You're like maybe a 3-take video person. So, I mean, and the reality of it is that just know who you are, have the confidence to express who you are, and the right buyer will buy into it, and have the audacity to do it in even when your hair looks crazy or you're on a fake beach.
That's great. This has been a really good conversation. Thank you to our panel, Katie from Catbro, Wayne from Grenade Marketing, Trent from Be Local, and Stacy from Pencil Point Marketing. Our next panel discussion will be the second of 4. It'll be on August 11th at 8 o'clock, and that will be sent out by our marketing team, and you'll be able to sign up for that. And it's going to be talking about brand engagement. So that's the next topic on our panel agenda. So thank you all for being here. Thank you, panel. Thank you, participants. Appreciate it. This webinar will be available through our website and on our YouTube page, as all of ours are, at least the ones that I remembered to click record on. And we hope you'll take a look at those and share these with the people that you want to help. So thank you, marketing team. Thank you, participants. Hope to see you soon, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care.
Bye.
Thanks for coming.